Hey guys, Sarek here, and today I'm going to bring you a new budget deck, and it is Labyrinth. So, Labyrinth got reprinted in the tins. We've had a number of reprints from Rarity Collection. It's never been a better time to be a budget player, so let's get into the deck. So, Labyrinth is a trap-based deck, so we're going to start off with our 3 copies of Lady Labyrinth of the Silver Castle. Lady Labyrinth, while you control a set card, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects, and it can't be destroyed by card effects. You can use each of the following effects once per turn. If a Labyrinth card or normal trap is activated this turn, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. This is a quick effect. And if you activate, when a normal trap card is activated, you can set a normal trap with a different name from your deck. So this allows you to toolbox your normal traps, it protects you, and it's a big body, and it also can summon itself very, very easily. Note the effect when a normal trap card is activated, that is a when you can, so it can miss timing if the normal trap card is not the last thing to occur in the chain. But given if your opponent activates a trap card and they have something to and then you can obviously chain to it, but if you activate a trap card and they negate it or have something they want to chain to it, they can stop you using Lady Labyrinth. We then have 3 copies of Ariana, the Labyrinth Servant. This is your searcher. If it's normal or special summoned, add 1 Labyrinth card from your deck to your hand, and then if another monster leaves the field by a normal trap effect, you can draw 1 card and apply this effect. You can summon 1 fiend monster or set 1 spell trap. So this is your searcher. Gets you to your copies of Welcome and Big Welcome Labyrinth, which is really, really important for the deck. 1 Lovely Labyrinth of the Silver Castle. Your opponent cannot activate monster effects in response to the activation of normal trap cards, so this prevents them from chaining. You can use each of the following effects of Lovely Labyrinth once per turn. You can target a normal trap in your graveyard, set it to the field, but it can only be activated if you control a fiend-type monster. And then if another monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect, destroy 1 card at random in their hand or on their field. So this provides you with destruction, it lets you loop cards out of their hand, it provides you with recursion for your trap cards, especially not your welcome trap cards which recur themselves or have graveyard effects, but for your other ones, and again provides you with more protection from other things. 1 copy of Arias the Labyrinth Butler. This is a new card from Age of Overlord. During the main phase, send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, special summon 1 Labyrinth monster or set 1 normal trap from your hand. So this allows you, this is a quick effect. So this allows you to set cards up on your opponent's turn on turn 0. If coupled with something like Coup Clock, you can very easily activate a trap card turn 0 and you're then off to the races. When your opponent activates card or effect in response to your card or effect activation of a normal trap or labyrinth card, except itself, while this card is in the graveyard, you can special summon this card. You can only use each effect once per turn. So it's an extender that gives you link material or material for other plays, and it provides you with the ability to set up on turn 0. For our furniture, we're playing 3 copies of Chandra and 2 Stovey. So Chandra and Stovey both have the same first effect, where they can send themselves from the hand or field to the graveyard, discard a card, and set a Labyrinth spell trap from your hand or deck, so allowing you to set, and that's a quick effect. So you can do this if your opponent goes first to set up a Big Welcome or a Welcome, so you can then do that on your first turn. So they let you set up your Labyrinth traps from your deck, and then if a monster leaves the field by a trap effect while they're in the graveyard, they get a bonus effect. So Stovey summons itself and Chandra adds itself back to hand. Because we're not playing Chaos Angel, because that card is ridiculously expensive, we are playing 3 Chandra and 2 Stovey, because returning to hand is much better for us than special summoning, because it just gives us more material to use for discards. Final bit of furniture is Coup Clock, which is separate because it's a completely different card. You can discard this card. This turn you can activate 1 normal trap that was set this turn if you control a Labyrinth monster. So note, you don't have to have the card set when you activate this. It applies to every trap you set afterwards, but you can only activate 1, and you have to control a Labyrinth. And then if a card is sent from the hand or graveyard to activate your normal trap card or your Labyrinth card or effect, such as Stovey or Chandra, while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand or special summon it. So recurs itself or puts itself on the board for, say, a link summon or something like that. We then play 2 Lord of the Heavenly Prison. Lord of the Heavenly Prison can reveal itself during the main phase, and then while it's revealed, set cards in the field cannot be destroyed by card effects. If a set spell or trap is activated, summon this card and then set one spell trap directly from your deck, but banish it during the end phase of the next turn. So it allows you to set up any of your targeted points of interaction, such as Eradicator or Dogmatic Punishment, and also protects you from blowout cards like Lightning Storm or Harpy's Feather Duster. And then for our hand traps, we're playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. The best hand trap in most situations, the best generic one, just been reprinted, so now ridiculously cheap, so get your copies of Ash Blossom. For our spells, we've got our 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance for card draw. Because we're discarding a lot with the furniture, we want to play Extravagance to make sure we keep our hand count nice and high. So that's why we're playing Extravagance. Some builds do play Prosperity as well, or instead, but we're playing Extravagance and it's also cheaper, so that's the other reason. Just remember, you need a full extra deck. I'm not going to give you a full extra deck today because most of it is irrelevant or expensive, but don't forget to put another 5 or 6 extra cards in to make up to the full 15 for Extravagance. 1 Labyrinth. It's very easy to search, very easy to get hold of, so we don't need more than 1. If you activate a Welcome Labyrinth, then add this effect to that card's effect at resolution. Destroy 1 card on the field. So this means that your Welcome Labyrinths now all remove a card from the field by a card effect, so you get your bonus effects of your other Labyrinth monsters. And then if you activate a non-Labyrinth normal trap, except during the damage step, summon 1 Fiend monster from your hand or graveyard. So provides you with extension and extra removal. It's very easy to access and doesn't need to be up in most games, so we only need the 1. For our traps, we're playing 3 copies of Big Welcome Labyrinth. This is the most expensive piece of the deck. It has just had an OTS reprint, so may drop in price ever so slightly. Summon a Labyrinth monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard, then return 1 monster you control to the hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 Fiend you control, and then if you control a level 8 or higher Fiend monster, target 1 card your opponent controls instead. Return that card to the hand. You can only use 1 Big Welcome effect once per turn. So, this gets you your copy of Lady Labyrinth, sorry, not Lovely. And then you bounce it, and then because you activated a trap, you can then summon that lady out with its own effect. So that's how that works. And then it also provides you with a much needed bounce effect, extra quick effect removal in the graveyard that's hard to interact with. Really, really good card, the heart and soul of the deck, along with its counterpart, Welcome Labyrinth, which we're running 2 copies of. So Welcome Labyrinth, summon 1 Labyrinth monster from your deck. Also, until the end of the next turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monster from the deck or extra deck except fiends. If a monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect while this card is in the graveyard, you could accept the turn it was sent there, set this card. So it keeps coming back. It provides you with the same effect of summoning labyrinths from your deck, so getting you Lady, getting you Lovely, getting you Ariana if you need her. And also keeps coming back every turn, so you can really keep activating this every turn to constantly keep your big labyrinths on the field. For our other traps, we're playing 3 copies of Terrors of the Overroot. This is a really, really nice removal option because it doesn't destroy. It targets a card your opponent controls and a card in the graveyard, sends that target from the field to the graveyard, and sets the other card to their field. This is really good against a deck like Tyr, where they want to constantly be activating cards and effects in the graveyard, like their Tyr effects. So if you send something and then put this set, let's say the Merly they're trying to fuse with, they then can't fuse anymore because they have to use that card as a fusion material. So it dodges non-destruction based removal, quite often gives them a useless card like a spent Ash Blossom or something like that, that they just have now set on their field. And can also interact with the graveyard, so it's a really flexible card. 2 copies of Skill Drain. We play lots of big monsters that can just be summoned from the deck, and if you have big monsters and trap cards, you quite frequently will win games that you shouldn't win. So 2 copies of Skill Drain just because we play bigger monsters than most people. 1 Eradicator Epidemic Virus. Tribute a dark monster with 2500 or more attack. Choose spell or trap cards. Check all spell and trap cards in your opponent's side of the field, their hand, and all cards they draw until the end of the 3rd turn after this card is activated, and destroy them. If you hit this card on, say, a hand with 3 or 4 of a certain type, you just win the game. So this really, really rewards knowing what your opponent's playing, and sometimes you just want it more with this card and you get it and destroy someone's entire hand. Throwback to the YCS, where Labyrinth got a full hand loop with Eradicator Epidemic Virus in the finals. One Ice Dragon's Prison, really, really nice removal option. Gives you a banishing removal option, also interacts with the graveyard. So again, really, really good against something like Tyr, where a lot of their monsters have similar types. So you can just, again, reborn, say, something they're trying to fuse with, and then send something they control. Or banish something they control, or not. It interacts with the graveyard, it interacts with the field. It's a really, really strong trap card. One-dimensional barrier. Against some decks, this just says win the game. Some decks cannot play if through a dimensional barrier, especially stuff like some rogue decks. So Sword Soul obviously hates this card, branded players hate this card. So if you call the right thing against their deck, some decks just cannot play through this card, and it just functionally wins the game on the spot. One Dogmatica Punishment. Removal is really, really nice, either popping 2 things with Entis, or getting a pop and a draw with Tri-Brigade Bucephalus and Garura, or just sending Garura. So yeah, really, really nice card to get. One Compulse as the other best generic removal option. Very, very simple card, been good for a long, long time, and just a really nice generic removal trap card. And then finally, to round out our 40 cards, 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Just been reprinted now, so no excuse not to get your copies of Infinite Impermanence. Still the best turn 0 trap card that you can have access to. Obviously, very good going first, good going second. Just a really all-round flexible card. For our extra deck, we haven't got a complete extra deck, but I'm just going to give you some of the things that you should have in your extra deck. Because we're playing Extravagance, we need multiple copies of things, so get yourself some copies of Elder Entity Entis. This has just been reprinted, there's no excuse not to have them. Got to make sure the highest rarity one's at the top there. You send it with Dogmatica Punishment, you pop something on the field. Very, very simple. So this allows you to hit monsters with 2500 or less attack. If they have a more problematic monster, you can send Tri-Brigade Arms Bucephalus 2, or as I like to call him, Bussy Phallus. Don't ask. This is just a big boy, and he has the bonus effect of sending something else from the extra deck. So if you need to destroy 2 things, you can send an Entis afterwards, or if you just want to draw a card, you can send a Garura. And then finally, the other card to make sure you have a copy of is Muckraker from the Underworld. Ideally, you'd have 3 copies of Muckraker, at least 2 copies of Bucephalus. I only have 1 copy. And then 3 copies of Entis, some number of Garura, ideally more than 1, but it's expensive, so only 1 if you have only 1. Muckraker allows you to bring back Fiend monsters, so just bringing back your big Labyrinth cards to make sure that they're constantly on the field, providing their protection, providing their disruption effects, and so on. And it locks you into Fiends, but you don't really care because the entire deck is Fiends anyway. So that is the deck. If you wanted to upgrade it at all, cards to look for would be copies of things like Hashtira Fenrir, any copies of Chaos Angel. Unfortunately, that's the biggest one, as a lot of decks are running 2 or 3 copies of Chaos Angel as a generic out to things that they can easily make with a Stovey Torby and a big Labyrinth monster. Copies of Zeus and the new card Typhon are very, very nice to prevent interruptions or to prevent monsters from doing anything really, and just general panic button. But having a generic Extravagance board with multiple copies of Muckraker, multiple Entis, multiple Bucephalus, and 1 or 2 copies of Garura is all you need to get the deck functioning. So I hope you enjoyed that deck list, and I hope you've enjoyed your Rarity Collection openings, or whatever you're buying from Rarity Collection, because the set is phenomenal, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching.